my youngest is still in daycare, and daycare gives him a lot of food that anytime that I try to make it for him at home, it's like I've upset him in a way that I've never been able to upset him before. But at school, he eats it. And I kind of did a bit of research. If all of his buddies are doing it, then so like he eats like lentil soup at the daycare. Yeah. And I make it, and it's like I made him lava for his mouth. And welcome to Bad Parents, a podcast about three bad parents who are trying to raise good kids. She's Shauna.
Hello.
He's Ryan.
What's up?
And I'm Johnny. A Tell It Like It Is podcast for parents to laugh, cry, and to make you feel better about your parenting. On today's Bad Parent podcast, we look at a couple of days ago and the eclipse, and we get into a lot of parenting guilt.
And swearing.
Okay, special edition of the Bad Parents podcast. We are 2 days removed from maybe the biggest event. I want to say celestial. Did I say the word right?
Yes.
The biggest celestial event of our lifetime. We are 2 days removed from the eclipse. Thanks for helping.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. And I think it was.
I thought you were stroking out or something.
No. You'll know. I'll be on the ground. It was a real sort of linchpin of like where your bad parent sort of like score would be, because it was ingrained in your head that you shouldn't look at the sun. And some kids of ours may have tried to catch a peek
or glance
without the glasses on, and some didn't. So where were we? How did you handle the eclipse as a parent? How did you handle the eclipse just as an adult? Because we have the ability to not look at the sun.
Yeah.
Because if you tell a kid not to do something, all they want to do is do it. And I think as they get older, that's more apparent, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I have to say it was a once in a lifetime experience, and also my very worst parenting moment I've ever had.
Seriously?
I'm not joking. I was so upset yesterday. I haven't even fully unpacked it because I knew we were going to talk about it on the podcast, so I thought I would save it up. I was very upset about how it went down because I had an idea. You see pictures of families together with the glasses. My mother-in-law gave us the glasses for Easter. We were ready to go. I did my Peloton ride. The kids were home from school. It was all going to be an event. My older son, who's 16, set his alarm. My husband was going to call us and be on the phone because he was at work, and we were going to have this family moment. And you know what it turned into? It turned into me losing it on my sons because both of them continually just kept saying they were going to take their glasses off and that they wanted to see it and they didn't like the glasses. And let me just for a second. And I didn't realize how stressed I was about the danger until it happened. And there was a moment, my son has everything recorded and hopefully I'm going to find it and burn it. But I actually swore at my older son. Really? I was so upset by both of them saying they were taking their glasses off because we had done all this research for the show and knew it was dangerous.
So were they just goofing around with you, or are they seriously going to take the glasses off?
It sounded serious to me.
Right.
One day maybe I'll play the audio for you, but they're like, oh, let me just look for a second, Mom, I just want to see. I can't really see anything with these glasses. And I was because when we were kids, we were kept inside, remember?
Well, as far as I understand, like, I don't think it's super fear-mongering. Like, they talked about they won't be able to see anything with these glasses. They won't be able to see anything, for the rest of their life if they look at that thing for too long. And put it this way, even if it is a little fear-mongering, I don't want to risk my eyesight on that.
If the side effect was like maybe small rashing, right, then maybe you'll take the shot. But if it is like, permanent eye damage, then I think you're absolutely right. Now, I think that in those sort of like, and how many times have we bigged up a moment in our head before it happened of how we want it to go?
Yes.
And it never goes that way.
I know.
I almost feel that like my family is the king and queen of that sort of scenario and situation where, my kids are younger and I want them to be older to understand how big Monday was.
Right.
And Olivia was home. She was supposed to be in camp, but we got it wrong because where we are in Ontario, Canada, a lot of the school boards moved a PA day around, and we had her in camp for the old PA day, but it got moved because of the eclipse, whatever. And you would think they would just take the reservation and move, but they did. So she was home.
Yes.
So I really tried to be the science dad where you sat a 5-year-old down who only wanted to watch Bluey on her iPad and talk to her about the importance of this eclipse. And I felt myself like, am I overdoing it to the point where she's like so uninterested?
Yeah.
Or do you, with repetition,
Right.
maybe it will sort of sink in? I don't
Once in
know.
a lifetime. You don't want to miss that opportunity to tell them what's happening.
But she's 5. I'll say this. I just want to say, I remember being like 19 when Quebec was going to separate. I didn't care. And everyone's like, this is a massive
It's true.
historical
You're right.
part of Canada. I'm like, I just want to go to Moose Winooski's and drink beer.
Yeah.
I didn't care. So a 5-year-old, I can see her blowing
Yeah.
off the old man.
So I tried.
Yeah.
And we went outside and I got the picture of her looking up with the glasses. And,
It's a nice
and
picture. I saw it.
thank you. And we didn't really see it. But because it didn't go the way that it went in my head, I failed as a parent.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear you say that because
Like I failed.
I failed so badly that to the point I almost, and I don't really care about most things like to do with experiences like this.
Right.
I almost was in tears. I went in the house because I couldn't handle these two idiots
Well,
saying, "Oh, take the
sure.
glasses off." So I said, "You know what, guys?" I said, "I'm going in the house."
And to Ryan's point, 19 and not caring about stuff. Like I've only really started caring about other people since my kids have been born. And that was 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so for me to, in the moment is a real sort of serious thing. And on the radio show that we host on Q107 that you can listen to on the Radio Player Canada app, on Monday, Ryan called out that if anybody had any glasses, because I guess you need like specific glasses to look, you just can't buy the gas station $5 ones.
No.
And I said that I thought like I had one for him. I gave him a pair and then I was like, just share, just have your kids try it on different times. And then I saw kids online trying to share glasses. Like I apologize for saying that was a positive solution
Why?
to your
They were
issue.
fighting?
Just like if my kid's cup is a different color than the other kid's cup, dinner's done.
Oh, yeah.
So how could I possibly think that they would share glasses for a 3-minute event?
okay. So that's a great segue to me being a bad parent, where I did lose my mind as well. As much as I was about to tell you two, jokingly, that I killed it yesterday, and now my kids are signed up for the junior Nassau camps.
Yeah.
Nassau.
Whatever. Nassau?
Where they go to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
I wanna go to
Nassau.
Nassau.
Yeah, where the sun is really hot. So what happened was, yes, you gave me the one pair of glasses, and I am a bad parent because I've known about this eclipse for about, months now?
Yes.
And I did nothing to get the glasses. So I said on the radio program, can anyone help me out? A gentleman named Brad who works at Home Hardware said, I got 2 pair for you. Okay, so Johnny gave me 1 and I got 2. So I came home with 3 glasses. My wife and I will just either go blind or we won't watch it. As long as the kids are taken care of, right?
Right.
So I bring the glasses home. I'm a hero, right? Dad, you got them. I got them, boys. I got them. Maybe I'll just borrow them quickly and have a quick look, right? That's all I care about. I put the glasses on the table. I go up. I have a nap. I go do my stuff. I'm, laundry, things like that. We're at the point now where it's time to go out. And I go, where are the glasses? Oh, I got one. Where's the 3rd pair? No clue.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, come on, guys. Like, why did you even have to touch them until now, right? Why are you touching them at 11:30 in the morning? Couldn't find them anywhere. I lost my mind. And I said, all that I did to get these glasses, I went on a radio program, looked like an idiot because I didn't prepare.
You
Went
really did.
out of my way, met some nice people, but I went out of my way to get these glasses. And you guys can't just leave them on the table, to the point where my little guy was like freaking out looking for them. And he's like, this is a big moment. I'm going to not see it. I'm like, well, you know what? Someone's got to pay a price.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he did. He found them. The little guy found them like last minute, and so was able to work out. But that's the example of my life where I'm like, we can't do anything right. I am like you. I have all these ideas,
Same.
and I did feel bad because people were traveling and going to different places in Southern Ontario,
I know.
and we literally went to the park across the street. But we went on the top of the park and we got a little bit higher, closer to it. But I don't go above and beyond for certain things.
Me neither.
But so I already had that guilt. Then I'm like, but why do I bother? Because nothing ever works out the way I want it to anyways.
Oh, this is making me feel so much better. If the 3 of us messed it up,
Yes.
then
Yes.
I don't feel so bad because it wasn't the moment. And then you go on Instagram and everybody's photos are at these like viewing parties and the families and all these kids have their glasses on and they don't seem to be fighting and their moms aren't saying,
Yeah.
you're an effing idiot.
Yes, I know. But in my head, how I make myself feel better is like, I think people do that for Instagram.
Yeah,
I don't think
okay.
they necessarily, like, sometimes I think as a family, we can have more fun in the backyard, just being ourselves,
Yeah.
than going to some location just to take a picture to say we were there.
Yeah.
At least I tell myself that. And my therapist tells me that too.
So you talked about the Instagram effect, about the pictures that you saw of people at these viewing parties a couple days ago, how their kids were like looking at stuff and everybody was having a good time. And it seemed like their day didn't explode like a lot of ours did.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what happened. I posted a picture to Instagram of Olivia looking up with the glasses on, almost just because I saw other people doing it. There was no reason for me to be like, it was almost like we say this all the time, that like when it first snows here in Canada, everyone has to tell you that it's snowing.
Right.
And the best way to do it is via Instagram. So I went to bed last night saying to myself, I had, again, these high expectations of what the day would be. And everybody seemed to have a good time. Nobody really posts the meltdowns and the breakdowns. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't see a post from you telling your kid to F whatever.
Put your effing glasses
there
on.
You go, right? I didn't see that.
Right.
And I said to myself, I think I'm done. And I deleted Instagram.
Is it really?
Yeah. And so I'm just kind of like, how do I put this? It's so hard being a parent, and you're so hard on yourself that I'm having a real hard time seeing other people nail it. And at least giving me the impression that you're nailing it. Because all I saw yesterday was everybody else nailing it except for me. So therefore, I feel like a bad parent, legit. So I said, whether or not I come back is a totally different story, but I'm out for a bit. And I enjoy it. I like it. I may buy some things from companies in which I follow, like new releases, but I'm like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I really felt like that yesterday. And I know you may be saying, well, you're going a bit overboard and you're doing this, but every single picture were parents nailing it. And I wasn't. And so I'm like, I'm done.
I don't think you're alone on that. I think everyone has that moment where whatever it is, maybe it's vacation. That's the other thing. Like we just got back from a joint family vacation, Johnny and I, right? And I don't think it went perfectly. We had our room wasn't great. We had to share a room. We had some moments, let's say, of non-vacation type fun.
Right.
And yet, you don't post that. I'm guilty of it too. I posted the picture of us by the pool. I posted this. It's like, boy, you guys look like you had a great trip. But the fact is, you're so right, because we're guilty of it. You don't show the reality of it. And if you're sitting at home or you're on your trip and you're looking at other people's vacation pictures or Eclipse photos, you feel like a bag of shit.
I'll be honest with you, because I didn't go on the trip, and I'm probably less in Instagram than you guys are. I kind of just check it once in a while, that kind of stuff. But anyways, I was looking for your vacation because you're my friends, and I was excited for you guys. Been talking about it since November, and you didn't come back and slam it. It wasn't like a horrible time and a horrible resort and all that kind of stuff. But what you told me in real life versus what I thought you were going to tell me through Instagram was night and day. I thought you guys went to heaven on earth.
I know.
And then you came back and like the room was this and then with this and they didn't do this and the maid yelled at my son and I'm like, what? I would not have thought that.
I know.
Nobody's going to like my photo of a leaky faucet or a toilet that really didn't flush, but wanted to, but just couldn't commit to flushing.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see that. And so it makes you kind of say to yourself, why am I posting this photo? Like, why am I posting it? Because is it for people to see my family in a tropical, like, I don't really understand. And it's making me really sort of think about, and I understand that if you are an influencer, you are paid to influence on Instagram, X, whatever, you are going to show the best of the best at all times.
Great point.
And I just wish that there was a bit of a community, and maybe this is it, where you can't nail it every day. You just can't.
Yeah.
And you may want to. And when these big, massive events that everybody is a part of and you can't, it's okay. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the bigger the event, the bigger the letdown. Where on a rando Thursday afternoon, when, maybe your spouse or whoever you're with is sick and the kids or whatever, and you nailed that 3 hours while they're that is a massive win.
Yeah.
What you have to look for, or as you've mentioned in the past, these joy snacks, and I normally hate those types of terms, so you don't have to call it that, but it is pretty obvious on what it is. It's the little things in life that bring you joy. And it could be a family thing. It could be your cup of coffee in the morning. But I'll tell you, on my weekend, the best part of my weekend was we have a very busy life, and Sunday we actually had no plans. And there was a window there where I had two of my sons chopping. We had a Christmas tree that we have a little fire in the back. And so they were chopping the tree up. And my little guy was in the hot tub. And my wife and I were just in the backyard hanging out. And the sun was on our faces. And we had a couple cocktails going. And we had some music going. And it was like probably 2 hours. Yeah. It was the best part of my weekend. So it wasn't about the big eclipse. I didn't post any pictures. I sent you a funny video.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did post one picture on Instagram. So I'm lying about chopping a tree down. And that was the highlight for me.
Yeah.
In the eclipse, you make a great point, Johnny, about the bigger the thing. Sometimes you build it up so much in your head, where I wasn't building up chopping a Christmas tree down. It just kind of came to me.
That's it.
And so sometimes I think the buildup makes it worse.
I agree. But there was a point last night lying in bed that you could not have talked me out of the fact that I thought that I ruined my daughter's interest in science for life.
Yeah, see,
Johnny, I hear you. I thought that I ruined, and my mom, meanwhile, had taken my nephews to wherever they were in Port Dover. They went to the actual Path of Totality, and they did this whole thing.
Which is in Southern Ontario here in Canada, where these sort of little spots, whether it be Hamilton, Niagara Falls, or where your mom went, these were the path that came through Southern Ontario here.
Yeah, and I just felt here's my mom nailing it. And my mom's always been very good at mom stuff. Same here. I just felt like I wrecked everything because it's once in a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
And I'm I can't even make it up to them. I took a long time for me. I'm still upset about it.
Well, then I guess everyone knows 2 out of the 3 of us are bad parents. All right, well, if we want to piggyback off the last conversation we had about, Johnny deleting Instagram, and the main reason why you did it is you felt kind of guilty. You felt like a bad parent because your experience with your daughter in particular, when it came to the eclipse, wasn't what you thought it would be. And you were comparing yourself to other parents that were posting awesome pictures of their family and enjoying the
solar eclipse.
Eclipse, thank you. I'm the dumb one on the show. And so I thought, we could look up other reasons why parents feel guilty. All right. So I'll throw them out at you and you just let me know if you have any guilt.
Oh,
okay.
God, okay.
And your opinion and take on this. I'm a working parent. Do you feel bad at all for being a working parent? And I can say this, all of us are married and all of us have dual incomes. My wife just became a working parent a couple years ago. She was a stay-at-home. And now the kids are a little bit older. She got a job at BMO,
which is a bank
of Montreal. And so, So do you feel bad about working?
All the time. All the time. And it feels like I only know of the other moms in the class who don't work because there's a lot of them. My firstborn and my secondborn are about 6 years apart. What a difference in our community. There used to be a lot of working moms. It seems like there's been an influx into the neighborhood of wealthier families where someone can stay home.
Okay.
And so you see it during field trip volunteers, like my kid's going to medieval times. And he says, don't worry, Mom, I know you can't go. My heart's just crushed because I'm at work.
Yeah.
We host a morning show in Toronto on Q107, and the show is on from 5:30 until 10 a.m. If I worked any other shift, I think I would. I can be there for the plays. I can be there for the sports at night.
Don't tell my kids that.
I can, but I can be there for a lot of things. And I think I'm very fortunate to work the hours in which I work for that. I also see that me working brings in money and it goes towards things that make them happy, like camps and sports and things like that. So time versus whatever. But I think, at least in what I do, I have a great balance of both.
Okay.
So I don't for that. Believe me, I'm Mr. Guilt. It's coming.
Yeah.
Just not on that one. Yeah, I'm kind of like you, Johnny. Because of the hours that we do, I've always been the dad that's been at every hockey. I used to coach my kids in soccer and hockey. I used to be able to take other kids to practices because if it was a 5 o'clock practice, understandably, they have more regular hours. We have kind of wacky hours. So yeah, I don't feel guilty about working.
Okay.
And that's maybe part of the reason why. I'm also very lucky. I'm not saying my kids are angels, but they're pretty good in public. Another guilt that parents have is if your child misbehaves in public. And I've been pretty lucky. My kids have never been in any kind of serious trouble with teachers, detention. I've never had to pick them up because they've misbehaved. They've been on sports teams. Coaches never had to say to me, there's any sort of issues. Not saying I'm a great parent.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just their personality type that they really are not disturbing anyone.
Yeah. I find the only times I've been embarrassed or felt guilty is lately. My son has my youngest son has a bit of a cockiness when it comes to sports, and he's part of a new team and they're not used to that. So I feel a little guilty. Have I pumped up his ego too much? Right. So that's something new to me because I've never had the tantrum thing with the toddlers, but now I'm starting to navigate this new world of sports where these boys are have you heard the phrase, I'm him? I don't know if your boys do this all the
no.
time. Both my boys are like, I'm him. Which is
Like the dude?
a bit of a cockiness around their sports. They're like one's in football, one's in baseball. So I'm navigating that right now, and I feel a little guilty that I've maybe pumped them up a little too much.
But at least you can have a conversation with them about that. What's really tough is when they're like 3 and they're just maniacs.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, my kids are very good in public. I don't have an issue. The only time that I ever feel bad is when I see like another parent kind of having an issue a little bit. I don't judge. I'm not judging you like your kid is X, Y, or Z. I just like what a terrible situation to be in at the moment.
Yeah.
And it must be hard for you.
Totally.
That's it.
So I didn't have much experience in that last topic, but I do in this topic. And I'll say this, if my third born was my firstborn, I'd feel even worse. And that's my child's diet is awful. So guilty. My oldest one, who's 15, kind of eats regular food like steaks and mashed potatoes. My middle guy is a little more experimental. He loves like butter chicken is his favorite dinner. But my little guy, I'm not kidding when I say this.
Waffle boy.
Waffles, peanut butter sandwiches, rice cakes and peanut butter, and French fries if he's in the mood. Nuggets. That's about like 5 things.
Same with mine.
That's it. And I think if he was my first or only, I'd be freaking out. But I remember my eldest being picky, and he's fine now, right?
They grow out of it.
Yeah.
You're right. If it was your first, you'd be freaking out.
Yeah.
My youngest is still in daycare, and daycare gives him a lot of food that anytime that I try to make it for him at home, it's like I've upset him in a way that I've never been able to upset him before. But at school, he eats it. And I kind of did a bit of research. If all of his buddies are doing it, then he eats like lentil soup at the daycare.
Yeah.
And I make it, and it's like I made him lava for his mouth. And so at least for him, I know he's eating well at daycare to the point where I like him to stay for a few more years.
Yeah.
But at home, it's a totally different story. And I think that, we're trying to rectify it.
Yeah.
I keep saying to myself, at some point, you're not eating Eggo waffles at 22.
That's just it. Like at some point, he's going to try a steak and he's going to be like, this is the greatest thing I've ever had in my life.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it'll happen, right? Like even as adults, right? We change our diets and change what we enjoy. All right. This one is maybe the worst for me. My child enjoys too much screen time. I've got 2 out of 3 that fall into that category.
Oh, me too.
And it's hard because it's just hard to get them off it. And then I'll tell you want to talk about guilt because we're talking about things that parents feel guilty over. Sometimes you just need a break.
I use it to get sex.
I know.
I mean, for myself.
Right.
I'm just like, go.
I use my screen for sex too.
Hey, who wants to go sit in the new 4Runner with an iPad for an hour and enjoy the new car smell?
Is that why you get a new car every year?
Oh, yeah. I get some sex once a year.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because you're just like, whatever it is, whether it's sex or even if you want to just cook a meal in peace.
I know.
Even if it's, what to be honest, even if it's doing chores in peace, like you're washing their car or something.
And I'd like to just say one thing about this guilt, because our parents, the baby boomers, judge us for screens. Hey, mom and dad and in-laws, look how much TV we watched. It's just a tiny TV in their hands.
I thought Mr. Belvedere was an actual family member.
Thank you.
Do your kids watch TV?
Yeah.
I yell too much. That's another one.
Yeah.
I do. You don't yell a ton.
I don't yell. I'm saying yeah to you.
Yeah, I
you
yell.
Do.
I yell. It's not even yelling at them.
Husband yells.
It's like, it's just yelling in general. Like, for example, earlier in the podcast, I mentioned how my kids lost the glass. I went out of my way to get these kids the glasses and then they just lost them. So I wasn't yelling at anyone indirectly, but I'm like, God, I'm just like, come on. Like, what is it? What do we need? What are we doing here? It's things like that.
Yeah.
But then I do feel guilty afterwards.
Sure. For me, it's not so much like yelling out of anger. My frustration can show pretty quick.
Oh yeah. I was on vacation with you.
I can only listen. That's you say these sort of like guilt, like feeling bad about certain things. I can only take my name, Dad, being called so many times. And I know it kind of wanes as they get older, but right now I'm in a real thick of like,
oh, yes, you
Daddy,
are. Yeah.
every thought, Daddy, every question, Daddy. Bleh.
And don't forget, Johnny's got an unusual situation of the 3 of us. He's got a little girl. And I can say this as a precocious young girl who talked a lot and was very verbal because that's something I think is a bit of a stereotype, but kind of for a reason. Your daughter talks a lot because I was one of those kids and you are in the thick of that. And I don't know about you, Ryan, but with my boys, they don't really do a ton of talking.
No, I think you're right. Boys and girls are different in that sense. I can't afford to give my child any extras. These are things parents feel guilty about. What I feel bad about really more than anything is, yes, that for sure. Can't afford to go on like crazy trips and stuff like that. You mentioned about Instagram. Like we're a family that drives everywhere pretty much. We're a family that spends a lot of money on things like Buffalo hockey tournaments and stuff. So we can't afford Disney. I also feel bad that the money's not evenly distributed, not because of liking one child more than the other, but one child is just a lot more active.
And in rep sports.
And so, like I feel bad where one kid says to me, hey, Dad, can I have $5 for this gaming app? And I'm like, oh, we're trying to save money. And then the next week I'm spending $200 on a hockey stick because it's a necessity. So that's my own thing that I have to deal with myself.
We had to take Olivia out of gymnastics because the cost was... Yeah. I felt like the money could have been distributed to more things than just focus on one thing. Mm-hmm. So I do feel guilty about that because she really did like it. Yeah. And she was kind of clicking at the end on it and we just couldn't do it.
It's tough. So, you have to make those decisions, but definitely guilt comes with those.
The last one, I think probably all have it, is I can't do it all. Which is just like, just in general, where you're just like, I just can't be everything to everyone all the time because, and this isn't a pity party, but when you're a parent, you say to yourself like, you wake up and you got to be there for your coworkers. You got to be there for your boss. You got to be there for other things that happen around your work. And then you got to go home and you got to be there for your spouse. And then you got to be there for your one kid and your second kid and your third kid, maybe fourth kid. And then you got to, maybe you're a coach, maybe you're a volunteer. Like you're just spread so thin. Yeah. And then on top of that, you still have to do groceries and laundry and everything that comes with it.
And not to complain, but do you ever feel like the kids don't appreciate it anyway? Yeah. So why am I spreading myself so thin when it's never enough for them anyway?
Yes.
I think it's okay for the dads to say it too. I know the mom stuff is especially, you hear a lot about like the mom guilt. Mm-hmm. Like I've seen like moms wear like sweatshirts that say like, mom guilt and things like that. I think it's okay for dads to feel like that too. Yeah. And I do, and I have, and I will feel like that again.
Yes.
And I think that's just, you see these sort of sayings that like, if parenting is hard, it's because you care.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
And so like, if you do feel guilty about things, it's because you give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
And, as somebody who may be a little bit more on the anxious scale than most, I feel that, as long as the kids are good, the kids are nice, the kids care, they're not mean, I feel like we're all doing a good job.
Yeah.
And and it's okay to like feel guilty about certain things. And, if you feel like that, male or female.
Yep. You're so right.
Okay.
You're so right. It can't just be mom guilt. I think it's parent guilt. I think as people distribute the parenting tasks more than ever before, that the good and the bad gets distributed. You're not only going to more plays, and you're also, as dads, they're more involved. What's going to come with that is also questioning your abilities as a parent.
Well, I'll be honest. I question who I podcast with because both of you had swearers on this podcast this week. You said the S word and you said the S word.
Do it, Ryan.
I won't do it.
No, do one. That way, if we get fined, it's an equal. We all have to pay it.
No, because then this podcast will be called Bad Parent, and I still have a job. Because I don't know if you heard, I need a lot of money for my 3 kids.